Let's continue our discussion and learning of Chinese Kung Fu. In the last section, we learned and discussed about the concept of Chinese Kung Fu, the origin and the history of it, and the mechanics of it. In this section, we will discuss about practice of Chinese Kung Fu, ethics of it, and we will introduce some Kung Fu masters and Kung Fu movies and novels. So, let's first come to practical training of Chinese Kung Fu. The practical training of Kung Fu is a very broad topic. The following main elements belong to a popular Kung Fu regimen. First, basics. Basics include stances and conditioning exercises such as breathing, stretching, striking, leaping, and throwing. Breathing exercises invoke principles of Qigong, meaning that either Qigong or Qigong-like meditation is incorporated into the basic exercises. Otherwise, it is impossible for the apprentice to move with grace and fluidity. Next, forms. Forms, or 套路, are various sides of movements, each side consisting of series of predetermined, coordinated movements that must be practiced until they can be executed in a single, fluid, multi-step of uninterrupted segments. It is perhaps best to think of 套路 as subroutines that are executed in response to one's opponent's 套路, in much the same way that a given opening in chess generally has a finite number of corresponding counter moves. The apprentice begins initially learning the 套路 subroutines until he can execute them satisfactorily. Then he and his teacher hold a sparring session in which the execution of the subroutines are perfected. The standard for which an apprentice must strive is this: train your form as if you were sparring, and spar as if it were a form. What this means is that the apprentice needs to learn to recognize instantly the opponent's 套路 and to immediately execute an appropriate counter 套路, as if by rote. Only then has one mastered the 套路. Finally, applications. Applications, or the practical uses of Kung Fu, involve simulations of real combat situations or sparring sets. The apprentice begins sparring with a partner who is compliant. That is, the sparring partner allows the apprentice to execute the fixed routine while countering with corresponding expected routines. This allows the apprentice to develop proficiency in executing the given routine without having to be prepared for every imaginable occurrence that might change the routine. As time passes, the apprentice is faced with a semi-compliant opponent and finally with a non-compliant opponent, where the apprentice must respond to anything that the opponent throws at him. The dominant principle in simulating real combat situations were a gradual practice whereby the apprentice is faced with a more and more realistic opponent is naturally to avoid that the apprentice suffers injury. The next perspective to be discussed is the ethical aspects of Chinese Kung Fu. Chinese Kung Fu is closely linked to a number of ethical aspects or virtues. In any case, the ancient masters of Kung Fu were very mindful of the necessity of following a code of honor that governed their lives, both during battle and otherwise. That is, the Kung Fu master did not go around looking to pick a fight. On the contrary, the Kung Fu master was an honorable, virtuous citizen, first and foremost, and a Kung Fu fighter last. The Kung Fu tradition rests on the following 10 virtues, in roughly the order or of importance as listed: humility, sincerity, politeness, loyalty, trust, courage, patience, endurance, perseverance, and will. This is called as 武德. 武德 deals with two aspects: virtue of deed and virtue of mind. Virtue of deed concerns social relations. Morality of mind is meant to cultivate the inner harmony between the emotional mind, 心, and the wisdom mind, 慧. The ultimate goal is reaching no extremity, closely related to the Taoist concept of 五味, where both wisdom and emotions are in harmony with each other. Then, how about learning Kung Fu? In the recent years, learning Chinese Kung Fu has been more and more popular among people of different ages and nationalities. Therefore, many Kung Fu training centers or clubs have been established. A strong will and persistence is the precondition for learning. One should follow a master or join a training school to learn systematically. The basic skills of legs, waist, shoulders, and stance training need to be practiced daily. Employing the solid foundation of the basic skills, one can choose from the various sects to learn specific routines of boxing, kicking, and weapon skills to improve the combat ability. In history, there are some well-known Chinese Kung Fu masters, Here, let's introduce some of them. Bruce Lee. As the founder of Jeet Kune Do, he is a great master who was a brilliant Kung Fu movie star in 1970s and made the Chinese Kung Fu well known throughout the world. Ip Man. He was a great martial art, contributing a lot in the development of Wing Chun. He had many students who later became masters in their own right, including Bruce Lee. Huo Yuanjia. As a co-founder of the Chi Wu Kung Fu School, Huo was considered a patriotic and heroic master for defeating many foreign fighters at his time. Zhang Sanfeng. He is a legendary Kung Fu master and ancestor of Wudang School. There are many other masters, including Chen Wangting, the founder of Chen-style Tai Chi, Yang Luchan, the founder of Yang-style Tai Chi, Dong Haichuan, the creator of 8-diagram palm, etc. Kung Fu movies. Since 1970s, Chinese Kung Fu movies have been more and more popular. People can marvel at the charm of Kung Fu from stunning film works like Way of the Dragon, Shaolin Temple, Hero, etc. You must ever think some of them, and some of us may have been the fans of Kung Fu movies. The famous movie stars include Bruce Lee, the king of Kung Fu, Jet Li, who has played many figures in a number of blockbusters, and Jackie Chan, noted for his outstanding skills in the film industry at home and abroad. What Chinese Kung Fu movies have you ever seen? Who is your most favorite Kung Fu movie star? Kung Fu novels. This popular genre of Chinese fiction is also known as wuxia, which features the adventures of martial artists. Modern wuxia stories are largely set in ancient or pre-modern China. The historical setting can range from being quite specific and important to the story, to being vaguely defined, or mainly for use as a backdrop. Elements of fantasy, such as the use of magic powers and appearance of supernatural beings, are common in some wuxia stories, but are not a prerequisite of the wuxia genre. However, the martial arts element is a definite part of a wuxia tale, as the characters must know some form of martial arts. Themes of romance are also strongly featured in some wuxia tales. Notable writers like Jin Yong, Liang Yusheng, and Gu Long have many popular wuxia works, which have been adapted for movies or TV series and passionately followed by fans. Actually, there could be a long list of Kung Fu movies and Kung Fu novels which are well known for us. Many of us may have ever got a dream of being a Kung Fu hero in which we have the power to do something apparently impossible in reality. Have you ever got that dream? That's the end of this unit. Thank you for joining us, and see you next time.